Hey y'all, Melissa here with you today with a sustainable sewing project. Today we're going to be upcycling, which is taking something that you don't use in its original purpose and turning it into something else. In today's example, we're going to be taking this slightly shrunken and felted sweater and we're going to be turning it into this hat and mittens project. In order to make my hat and mittens set, the first thing I want to do is deal with these cuffs on this sweater. As you can see, they're attached in a few places. So the very first thing I'm going to do is cut up the threads that are holding those together so that I can unfold the full sleeve. Okay, now that I have those sleeves so that I can use the full piece of this fabric, I'm going to direct you to look at the links below because I'm going to be using a couple of patterns from my website, a mittens pattern, and then there's directions on how to draft a hat pattern, or you can choose to buy it if you prefer not to do the drafting yourself. So, the beanie hat instructions that there are to draft, you'll end up with something that looks kind of like this. This is what you get if you purchase the pattern. I'm going to be making one modification to this. I don't want it to be slouchy off the back of my head like that pattern. So I'm going to be taking 2 inches off the bottom of it. And then I'm going to use this ribbing on the bottom of the sweater here to be the band on my hat. So I want to make sure to position my hat pattern right along that edge. Now the hat pattern has you cut things out on a fold, and that's to make it lined. But we're not going to be doing that in this instance. I'm just going to be cutting 2 out with no folds. Now the mittens pattern here, this is a free multi-sized pattern, and I'm going to just start placing different pieces of the pattern around on the extra fabric that I have. You might have to play with things to see where you can get everything to fit. I'm going to have to cut one cuff out on this sleeve fold here and then take that and cut the other on the sleeve there. As for the thumb gusset, I'm going to actually cut 2 at the same time just by flipping them after I start cutting. Alright, now that I'm done cutting all my pieces, this is the carcass left of my sweater. So this is a great way to figure out, and a time to figure out, do you want to do anything else with the little scraps that are left? Maybe hand warmers, for example, would be a good use of the remaining little pieces to have as little waste as possible. So I'm not going to go step by step through how to sew these mittens because I have another video that is literally just for this project. So for the purposes of this video, we're going to pretend that we went straight from this to this, as if by magic. I'm going to put those aside though, and I am going to show you how I sew the hat together because that is going to be a little bit different and a little quicker actually than the video and post I linked to below. So the first thing I'm going to do with the hat is I'm going to take the 2 sides and I'm going to sew in these darts. Just folding it right sides together, and I'm going to stitch right along that dart. I am using the lightning bolt stretch stitch on my machine and a 1/4 inch seam. Now all I need to do is take the 2 hat pieces, open them up, and I am going to match up those darts, and then I'm going to stitch all the way around the edges. And now I'm using a 1/2 inch seam. Now all you have to do is turn your hat right side out. I I hope you've enjoyed this hat and mittens project, and make sure and check out the playlist of the rest of the sustainable sewing projects that I have for you this month.